Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Kangaroos Alive Road Safety Tips for the Holiday Season webinar. My name is Kate and I'm so honoured to be your host for this evening. And I just want to start by acknowledging the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which we live, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and future. And I'm thrilled tonight to be joined by Greg Keightley. He's a co-director of Kangaroos Alive, and he's been actively participating in road rescues for kangaroos and wildlife for the past 22 years. So we're really thrilled to have you here, Greg, and thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us.
My pleasure, Kate, and hello there.
Good, sorry. I just wanted to begin tonight to talk a little bit about the UN Declaration for kangaroos, and because I think it's really a great place to start this webinar. It says kangaroos are intelligent, sentient beings living in family groups and have their own songlines, language, culture and dreaming. As they traverse their own dreaming tracks, they continue to activate the Earth's songlines for the survival of all living things. So I just wanted to talk about that just first up, because really the heart of this conversation tonight is that we share Australia with kangaroos and other wildlife. So when we're driving our cars across the landscape, we're sharing their songlines, their path, their dreaming tracks. And that's why we need to pause and take note and become guardians of their actual journeys that when we are out on the roads. So with that said, Greg, we haven't got so long tonight, so let's just jump straight into it. As guardians, what would we do to prepare for like a trip? Say we're going on a Christmas vacation this year or a holiday somewhere. How do we prepare to be like guardians of the kangaroos?
Well, it's a great point, Kate, and I think with ever increasing pressure on kangaroos and all of our wildlife, it's good to be to consider the wildlife when you're planning to travel. And there's a number of things that you could do to prepare for that, which will put you in a better situation to be able to rescue something along the way. So, and we could go through a few of those things tonight very quickly.
Yeah, let's talk about like how, if you're preparing for your trip, what do you do?
Well, it's good to, when you're preparing, it's good to work out where you're going, try to travel that distance in daylight hours, because the risk increases exponentially, both to yourself and to wildlife as you approach, dawn and dusk. So it's great to be able to get to your destination before dark. If that's unachievable, it's good to leave a little bit early, to plan to leave early, to have extra time, so that when you get to the pointy end of your trip, if you're going to Coffs Harbour from Sydney, you're going to enter forested areas in your last hour. Make sure that you got the time so you can slow down, reduce your speed, because that's so important. It'll save lives. It'll give the animals, you a chance to see animals, but also to be able to stop and render assistance if you can. So it's important to build some extra time into your trip. And then consciously, as you're driving, you don't have to drive past something. You've got the time to pull over and check a kangaroo if it's on the side of the road. You're not on that timeline. So important to make that plan. Destination before dark, and have extra time so that you don't feel that you need to drive past something.
Right, and so in a way, you're preparing yourself to stop if you need to. So it's not a spur of the moment decision to stop. You're actually already looking out for kangaroos on your trip.
100%. It's part of preparation for a trip. You pack, your toothbrush, but also make a conscious decision and talk about it with your other people that are going to be travelling with you, that you're going to, be conscious of wildlife. You're going to keep an eye out if there's something that we can assist along the way. And it makes it more of a family-orientated and rather educational as well. So it's a discussion in the car. Somebody in the car can be a designated observer, so to speak. So you can, have one of the kids that would be keeping an eye out, even for a turtle on the road or a lizard that's about to cross the road or something like that, where you may be able to pull over safely and save that life. It's good to have a spotter. It's good to be doing 80 Ks rather than 100. So you have time to stop, and also to be looking at the road. So you actually get it in your mind. And I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but over the years, every time I start the engine, I make a conscious decision of where I'm going, what I'm likely to engage in wildlife, because that's my life. But yeah, so I know today that I was going to find turtles after a big storm today, and I found 2 injured turtles on the road and checked 2 kangaroos, and that was just today in 30 kilometres. But I knew that I was going to. I had a little basic rescue kit. I was prepared. I was keeping an eye on the side of the road. The grass is high on the side of these rural roads up here because councils haven't mowed them, so things just come straight out onto the pavement and bang, and they're injured or dead. So I do also reduce speed, and as much as that annoys some people, I think around here I'm like an old fella in a Volvo with a straw hat now. They see me coming, they know I'm going to be doing 70 instead of 100. And over the time, it seems to change people's way of thinking up here on some of these rural roads that we travel a lot, is people go slow. It does get into their psyche because they're going along, they're listening to the radio, they're on the phone, they're not thinking about what's ahead of them or what may be impending a collision with a kangaroo.
Right, yeah. Thanks for that. So actually for World Kangaroo Day, Kangaroos Alive prepared a sort of kit, some instructions and some ideas to pack with you. We have, I'll just put in the comments, just put up the place so you can see what's happening. Yeah, so we have a road, where does it go? A road rescue instruction sheet that you can have in your car, your 2 just average pillowcases, and a piece of bright material to sorry, got my phone on. Piece of bright material to use. So can you talk us through how you might use the kit?
For sure. It's so simple to make. You just take things out of the linen cupboard and have it in the car somewhere. Having some gear is such a relief when you do come across something, particularly if you plan to help wildlife along the way. You've got the kit there, so it can be as basic as, and I have a nice Christmas message bag, but a very simple bag with a couple of pillowcases, as you say, so you can pretty much contain a lot of small mammals, and in particular joeys from mums that may have been killed on the road. And simply a couple of pillowcases, a larger bag, the instruction sheet that you can download from our site, and also just a pair of gloves if you need to, the disposable gloves if you need to use those. And the ribbon is very important, the identifying ribbon that you can tie if you do check kangaroo along the way. A lot of people use spray paint, but you can also use a biodegradable ribbon that we include in our bags that you can tie on the leg or some part of the kangaroo to relieve the pressure from people that might be following you that are care and distressed about that animal. So it's pretty important to make it quite obvious that that animal has been respectfully checked and it's deceased.
Okay.
So the bag's really easy, and it does give you a great confidence to have the gear, because you get if I travel in someone else's car and they don't have a kit, I'm quite nervous. And the kit is just very basically a few dollars worth of stuff, which comes in so handy. And you can supplement that along the way as well. You can have a hot water bottle in there if you're traveling at night, and because if you do find a little joey, you can provide some warmth from that, like some hot water at a service station. A couple of little ideas that, people got different ideas. But just throw a few things together and include maybe a torch if you are traveling at night. So it's great to be prepared, and you can do it so simply, and it's such a relief.
Absolutely. So, Greg, what sort of things would we see on the road? I know that when you're driving around Australia, you see kangaroos on the side of the road that are hit, or you might hit one yourself on a bed, if you're driving too fast, or that one just pops out in front of you. What should you do at that stage?
Well, yeah, they're going slow, particularly at dawn and dusk, is just essential, because the last thing you want is that on your conscience if you run over or have a collision with an animal. So going slow and being careful. If you do find something and it's such a great thing to stop and check. You find somewhere safe to pull over, always safety first, that you can pull over to the side of the road, put your hazard lights on. It's all very obvious sort of stuff. And assess the situation and stay calm. Have a look from a distance, see how you could maybe help the animal across the road. Sometimes you may not, but on busy highways, 3 or 4 lane highways, is particularly difficult, of course. You have to engage the authorities. But on rural roads, you're travelling on, pulling over, checking it out. If you need advice, you can ring your wildlife numbers that'll be included on the sheet and get advice over the phone on what to do. There may be a wildlife carer somewhere close by that can come and assist, and hopefully you can stay with the animal until that point. Otherwise, with your kit and some basic, some basic knowledge, you can check the animal out.
Right, and so there's a couple of different situations out there. We've talked about, like, if you're looking for a joey is probably one of the first things to do. Is that right?
What was the first thing? Sorry, Kate, I missed it.
Looking for a joey, is that one of the first things you're going to be doing?
Oh, you are, yeah. We're approaching a kangaroo very slowly and quietly to see what its reaction is, if it is deceased or not. If it isn't deceased, if it's still alive, well, of course, getting onto the wildlife rescuer as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But if you're confident, approaching and checking the pouch, quite an easy thing to do. It's and once you do it once, it's quite reasonable. You know, it's not scary at all. It's not unhygienic. Those pouches are very clean. But checking the pouch, feeling over the mum's pouch to see if there's a lump in there, can be the size of a jelly bean up to something that might be quite large. So, yeah, checking that out and seeing if there is anybody still in there, because the mums are very good. Even though they're dying, they will close that pouch and provide such a great environment for the joey to live for days. And a lot of rescuers that are on the call tonight would have found joeys that have been in pouches for more than 24 hours sometimes. So it's very important to do.
Yeah. How do you know if the mother's dead or not? Because approaching a large kangaroo at night outside, quite scary. How are you assessing if it's alive or not? And when do you know it's a joey? And do you check, if you don't know if it's a male or female, do you check? Sorry, these are really basic questions, but I just think that a lot of people don't know these things.
Yeah, well, observation from a distance is the best way to see what's happening there, and then slowly approaching, calmly, keeping your head down and quiet, and approaching to see if you get any reaction. It's a little bit scary, of course, depending on your level of experience with it before, but the first time will be quite scary. Unfortunately, most often the kangaroos are dead as a result on these rural roads because of the high speeds.
Right.
But yeah, if you've driven past, you probably, and the beauty about being able to slow down and drive past and have a look from the car as you go past, if you can, and then and observation, approaching slowly, and then I always just put a hand somewhere on the kangaroo to see if I get a reaction, and
that's a good idea. Yeah. So if you're looking, if the mother does have a joey inside her pouch, how do you manage that?
Well, by lifting the back legs of the kangaroo, often you can just have it so her legs are both standing up or on the side. But opening the pouch, it's quite elastic, so it's you'll be surprised at the elasticity of the pouch. You can open it right up and get your hand in. You can have a look, and you can use it if it's a little bit dark inside. You can use the torch on your phone. Have a look inside. If the joey's not on the teat, and you're able to put your hand slowly into the pouch and scoop the joey out with a hand behind its back, perhaps, and bring it out of the pouch that way. And have your pillowcase ready very close so that you can put the joey straight into the pillowcase and then tie off the top of the pillowcase. They are wriggly, so you've got to be a bit careful. If Bubs, hasn't been too injured, could be quite wriggly, particularly as they're a little bit older. But it's quite easy to do. Once you've done it, once you'll go, I wonder why I was so scared of, had so much anxiety about doing it. It's quite easy. Having the pillowcase there, straight into the pillowcase, and then into the car.
Right. So there's two things you can do here, isn't there? There's one is that even if there is a live Joey and you feel a bit nervous, you can actually ring the wildlife rescue person straight away and they can talk you through it, or even come out where you are. And the second thing is once you've got the joey, you want to ring the wildlife rescue person again, or if you haven't rung them already, to say, I've got a joey, can I bring it over to your house or something? Is that what you do next?
Yeah, it's a bit of a network of carers in all states, and if you getting advice from wildlife first and letting them know what you're doing is always good. Then they're on call and they can have somebody actually coming out to you. But if you are in a remote area or a carer or a rescuer is a long way away, often it's a network of if you can get the joey out of the pouch, put it in a safe environment, warm in the car. If you haven't got a heat source like a hot water bottle or something, you could put it up your jumper if it's cold. Very quiet, just to get some body heat to get you to the next destination. Often there's a network of people that will take them as people are travelling. So I've met people on the side of the road that are an hour away, coming down from 100 kilometres to get to here. They're on their way back home to Sydney and they've hit a kangaroo. They're very distressed. So being on the side of the road, so you can actually help the carer or the rescuer by travelling that distance and meeting halfway, something like that. Yeah. If you are quite remote, well, getting to the next town and seeing if there's a vet, and making further inquiries on how to get that joey to someone immediately, because joeys have to go to an experienced carer very quickly.
You don't want to feed.
They can.
You don't want to feed them or anything. Just take them in the pillowcase, and then you take them to the carer. You don't feed them or anything.
Yeah, 100%. No. Often we get joeys. Lots of people have horror stories of that, where they've stopped and bought a chocolate milk for the joey on the way. Well, that's not good for the joey. So, just straight to a wildlife carer. And there are good people that do 24/7 in each state that you can meet along the way to take them into care. So, that's the wonderful thing about the wild.
Yeah, I've put up in the comments. I've put up the Wildlife Rescue Australia number, which is a 24-hour number. So it doesn't matter what time of the day you can ring that number, and someone will direct you in to a local wildlife carer in the area that you are. There's also an I4 have done an app. I'll put that up too. You can go to there, but this one's only for New South Wales. So if you want to have this app on your phone, it's also quite useful for a lot of different wildlife. That's a all wildlife rescue app. In the car, you want to keep the joey with you, because you don't want it near an animal, or even with the kids particularly. Just like, you need to be really settled and gentle, obviously, and calm.
Yeah, 100%. No, minimal noise, some body warmth if no other heat source. And just keeping very calm in the car, not handing around the joey. So it's it's essential for its survival to get it somewhere very quickly in as calm a state as possible. Yeah,
that's important, isn't it? And if you found a live large adult, what do you do?
Well, it's just hopefully you have a wildlife rescue organisation nearby, and that's the beauty of the Wildlife Rescue Association being nationwide now, that you can cross over different agencies like Wildlife Big or Wires into other groups as well, so that you can get somebody with greater skills. It's going to be hard. Small wallabies, people often wrap up a small wallaby in something and put it in their car, and because they're so worried about it, they don't want to leave it on the side of the road. So that's not advisable if you feel uncomfortable about that, but you can do that with smaller animals. But other than that, getting a wildlife rescuer to the scene is most important. If you have to move on, that's the beauty of having something that's maybe fluorescent with the tape, is that you can mark the spot, because so many times, as rescuers would tell you, they get called out and it's about 8 k's out of Lithgow or out of a township, on the left-hand side, and you could spend hours looking for the injured kangaroo. It might go back out onto the road, crawl onto the road, It might be predated upon because it's incapacitated. So it really is important. So be a little bit creative there about putting a ribbon on one of the white posts on the side of the road, or a fence, telegraph pole. Take a GPS coordinate and send that to the rescuer. That's handy as well, so that you can get there as quickly as possible.
Mm. And we talked about earlier that your first time you're going to be a bit nervous, but you will get the hang of it. Like just assessing the situation, just using intelligence. Like you've obviously got to be really careful on busy roads, careful not to startle kangaroos that are injured but still active, and then just go really slowly. You can ring a wildlife person straight away and have them talk you through it. And how many joeys do we save around Australia from this, from people stopping?
Oh, it'd be in the thousands every year with so many carers, across all states, with people working 24/7 as volunteers. It'd be thousands, Kate. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So it's really worthwhile.
Yeah, so it's such an important function to make the call and report it, and do the best you can on the side of the road if you're you can't feel too much pressure. But once you do it, you will become more confident. And learning about the species a little bit in your spare time, it's always good to Google. Kangaroos make good decisions when they're not under pressure, but when they're under pressure and they're broken on the side of the road, often they might come back out into traffic. So you wouldn't engage, if you're not confident and have some skills. It's quite a dangerous thing for both the animal, who's just as scared as you are, mind you, the fear of us approaching on the side of the road. You get big kangaroos, big fellas that they try to show that they're not injured, but of course they're broken and they need help. So.
Yeah. Hey Greg, I'm just going to show you the video that we made earlier with you and Pam Turner doing some rescues, and then if anyone's got any questions, please put them in the comments. I know there's a question come through already and we'll get to it after we've watched this video. So it's about
just come across a kangaroo that needs to have the pouch check, so just a quick example of what to do. It's safe to approach. Obviously poor old kangaroo lady is dead, so she probably got hit this morning, so she's been here most of the day, which is still a good reason to check the pouch. So pouches are very flexible and it's not that scary. Just having a look inside, very, very clean. So this pouch has had a joey living inside. It's still worth always checking right down the bottom in case there's a little joey, and that pouch is empty. Very clean, it's not smelly. You can wear some gloves if you feel the need, and it's always handy to have a torch as well to be able to look inside to get a bit of an idea, particularly if you're not familiar with pouches. So the mums do a good job holding them in. They create an environment where the joey can survive for days. So always essential to check. And after you do one, it's not so scary. It's a good thing to do.
okay. We're on. So it's come off. It's not on the teat, so I have to get my hand in right in underneath. There we go. Okay, so it's a little girl. I'll just get the pouch.
You too can carry out this important work saving our wildlife.
Great, thank you very much. Greg has dropped off. I'm not quite sure where he's gone. Hopefully he'll come back. So I'm just going to go back to the comments. I'll just check if Greg can come back on, because he's better at answering the questions than me. Excuse me for a second. Don't know where he went. Here he is. So that was a great video that these guys made. Thanks so much, Greg, for that video, and to Pam Turner for sharing that with us. You really got a sense of those joeys. I mean, it's a beautiful thing we can do in Australia, really, is to stop and feel like the guardians of this. Helen's asking, are these actions all the same for the wallabies, Greg?
Sorry, Kate, my sound's off a little bit here.
Oh, yeah.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Is it the same for wallabies?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much the same, a smaller species, but a little bit easier to handle, although quite feisty when under pressure. Same applies with the joeys. Often, if you're not confident and there is a joey on the teat in a pouch of a smaller joey, or if you're confident about wrapping something up, you can get the mum to a wildlife carer, particularly if the joey's on a teat, because very difficult if you don't know what you're doing to get a joey off a teat, and you can damage the joey's mouth. So it's worth considering. A lot of people do it on their long rural trips. They will, if a smaller wallaby or a small kangaroo, they're able to wrap it up. And that's the beauty of having a doona cover and a blanket in your car as well, because a lot of people don't want to leave something that they've hit or found on the side of the road, so they do wrap it up. It's quite bizarre when they pull up, of course, with the animal, but it's a great thing to do if you are confident you can do it safely.
Yeah. So, Greg, Lauren's asking, do you think the kangaroo car deterrents work?
There doesn't seem to be any scientific support for them at the moment, but there's a company that's working on them again. I must admit, I bought mine maybe 20 years ago. It's still on the car whistling away, but apparently they don't. But there's such great initiatives now, which hopefully we adopt in Australia, with the posts on the side of the road, giving out light emitting and noise. So it'll be great to see more of those roll out to protect our kangaroos and wallabies.
Yeah, there's definitely things.
Going slow. There's no, there's no other way than going slow and being really aware, keeping an eye. It's actually interesting. I learned this myself over a period of time, where the peripheral vision, you sort of train yourself, because I drive so much on rural roads. I'm always checking fences along the way. I'm still covering the road, but you can keep an eye on fences for kangaroos that are hanging in fences, which often they are on rural roads, if they've been caught and pushed into fences and hanging upside down, or even kangaroos approaching. Yesterday, just the middle of the day, 4 kangaroos crossed the road in front of me, coming out of a chook farm. Then they were pushing them out of a rural chook farm, and they crossed the road in the middle of the day. You don't expect it, but it was great that I actually was aware that they were on their way. So I was able to put the hazard lights on, annoy the people behind me, and stop the traffic so that those 4 kangaroos could get across the road. Yeah, so by driving along, you're checking the road, but you're also keeping an eye on the left and right as well. It's pretty important on rural roads.
Yeah. Greg Kerry's asking, can you please discuss an empty pouch, but there may be a missing joey, i.e. there is a lactating teat but no joey in the pouch? Is it important to have a look around for the joey?
100%. Yeah. Often you take a joey out of a pouch, or there isn't a joey in the pouch. When you have a look, it's quite easy to see, but a lactating teat, so there'll be maybe a small teat and a large teat indicating a joey at foot, a foot joey somewhere that was following his mum when he got hit. So checking the mum, always look around. You can often see the same travel ways, that those are, their energy lines that they travel every day. So you can actually have a look along those lines to have a look. it's always good to engage wildlife carers for that as well. But if you're there and you're isolated, having a good look around for a joey, staying calm and quiet. Sometimes they'll come back up to the mum. Sometimes they approach humans. If you are calm and, give off a good, that you're not so much of a risk, that's the beauty of having a couple of bags with you as well, because you often offer a bag to a joey, they might get into the bag, and often they do. So you would scoop it open like a mum's pouch and put it in front of the joey if you're lucky enough that the joey's calm enough. But going back the next day, and that's the thing with engaging wildlife carers, they'll go back the next morning, that evening. They might check for a couple of days. If you haven't got the time and you're travelling, at least letting people know where it is and the potential for a joey. Often we're able to grab them and raise them independently.
Mm. Oh, that's fantastic, Greg. So much.
Very important.
There's a lot of information on the instruction sheet that's on our website that I've put in the comments. So there's details in that, but obviously, probably every rescuer in Australia has a different way of rescuing, and everyone's got, and the animals are always going to be doing something different. That's quite common, isn't it, Greg? That it will be slightly different every time because wildlife are different.
Oh, 100%. You can't be an expert in this game. It's really just learning boots on the ground and the number of rescues you do. Every rescue has a different. There's something different about it from the next one. So, but luckily, sharing ideas and information amongst us as carers and picking up pointers and different ways to do things. So there's no right or wrong way. Often it's just doing it the best you can and not being disappointed if you fail, because sometimes you will.
Yeah.
But it's such an important thing to do.
Right. Yeah. And especially, when we're hurrying and we're busy over Christmas, there's a lot of people on the roads and there's just a lot of pressure. And I think if you go with a sort of calm state that you're going to be doing that peripheral look and you've got your kit in your car, I mean, they're a great gift for other members of the family too. You can just get some pillowcases together, download the instructions, get some ribbon to tie, and you can really start sharing it around your families. I know in some council areas, all the councillors are now getting them, or the police are now getting them. Nikki's been doing lots of work down in Castlemaine with the community all having these kits in the car. So Nikki actually helped us. Nikki Medford from Red Boxes helped us get this kit together, and I know that there's it's just a build around the country for that. There's a couple of just more questions before we end. It's over time, but we'll just slip a few in. Kim says, I'm in Perth and I have kangaroos on my property. I want to know whether kangaroos know when they are in a safe place.
They do, yeah. I think they have an understanding a consciousness greater than ours, and they know when you're a good person, when it's a safe environment. I'm sitting out here at the front because we have a lot of kangaroos that come up from the creek and the bush here, and they haven't come up yet, but they're just about to. But they know that this area is safe if they go into the farmland opposite. Yeah. They know that there's a risk there, but they just think I'm some knucklehead that's sitting here at the moment. They're on this side of the camera, but they feel safe and they're wild, and they trust us, which is just so lovely to have their trust that they can just hang around, and we'll protect them as best we can as well.
Yeah.
But you're right, Kim. They do. They gravitate to people that care.
Right, that's fantastic. That's great. Another question is, Kim says she loves her roos, so thank you for that. Helen is just asking, are there certain times of year you've noticed more roos crossing roads or single roos, like in different seasons? Are there more kangaroos out on the roads, or do you notice any pattern with kangaroos on the roads? Any pattern,
did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think seasonally, well, they move around their range, but you see the lines that they travel every day, and they seem very much creatures of habit, and so you know where they're travelling, and you're able to identify, those places. And something we've learned up here is trying to avoid in a commercial shooting environment is that the agricultural land's often just a place for them to go, and they come up from the bush and they'll be on the rolling hills. It's open, they see the predators, and it's like a mother's club, and the fellas hanging out over there. So they go there every night to do that function, and so they're very much they have their set ways.
Yeah, I know sometimes if they're urban development, if there's urban development or something happening where they're being squeezed out of areas, new areas, there's more around in public areas like in small towns or on the edge of cities. We're just enjoying, all of us are enjoying the kangaroos behind you, Greg, as they're coming up for the evening. There's a couple of kangaroos. Okay, look, sorry, I don't want to go on because I know it's Christmas. We should end up. One last question from Queenie is, after the joey is removed, what should I do with the mother's body?
On the side of the road, pull it back from the side of the road so that it doesn't attract other animals to eat it, to predate on it. Yeah, so pulling it back into the bush. A lot of people leave them on the road and tie a ribbon on them to show people that kangaroos are around. So there's an argument either way, but it's probably safer to pull the poor mum off the road and put her in the bush. But it also gives a chance, perhaps, for family members, to be able to mourn the loss of that kangaroo. I like to pull them back in along the line that they came out, where they got hit, because if there is a bub there, a young afoot might want to visit his mum, or family members. So I don't know if that's being terribly anthropomorphic or not, but living with kangaroos, you see that. You see the mourning process. They do suffer. They do feel. They do mourn. So, yeah, I think it's important to take the mum's body and just back into the bush a little bit for that process. I think it's a respectful thing to do.
Yeah. I just want to just once again show you how easy this kit is. So it's a bit dyslexic doing it like this. There's an instruction sheet, 2 pillowcases, doesn't even take up much room in your car, and your ribbon. Greg, where did you and Diane found those eco-friendly ribbons? Where were they? Where are the eco-friendly ribbons did you find? Online somewhere?
Just online. It's so it breaks down over a couple of months, which is better than using other stuff. So, and it still glows in the dark with the headlights in it, so that's handy. Found it on, of all places, a Forestry Commission site, and we can put the details for that up on the website.
Okay, we'll put it up on Kangaroos Alive and our social media, so you can find out, Cole, where they go, where to get them from. Hey, well, thanks so much, Greg. It looks like you've got kangaroo business probably to do tonight back behind you. I don't know what you do, but it looks a lovely thing just to maybe just turn around and sit and watch them, come and enjoy your property on an evening. What a great yeah, we're so lucky to
I'll do whatever I'm told.
Thanks, mate. Hey, have a good night, and thank you so much for everyone who's come on board and joined us. Please become a kangaroo guardian this Christmas and give out these kits to your loved ones and your counsellors and your police and whoever's in your neighbourhood and you think should be protecting your kangaroos more. And we look forward to seeing you in 2023 from Kangaroos Alive. And we'll have more webinars then, and keep the spirit of the kangaroo really positive and alive, and respecting our beautiful wildlife through into millennia. Thanks, Greg. Good night.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, everybody.
All right. See you then. Ciao.